Hi, and welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith, and in this video, we're going to learn the 2 to 4 player game, Dungeons & Dragons Builders of Baldur's Gate, designed by Matthew Dunstan and published by WizKids, who helped sponsor this video. Here, you're the head of a powerful family in one of Dungeons & Dragons' most famed cities, Baldur's Gate. But rival families are seeking to increase their own prestige by constructing buildings, gaining favor with local factions, and fending off city attacks. If you want to retain your family's honor, you'll have to do the same, but better. So, join me at the table and let's learn how to play. To set up, put the game board in the center of the play area. Nearby, create a supply of these gold, favor, supply, and damage tokens, along with these 3 types of fortification figures known as watchtowers, keeps, and gates, which you might choose to keep in the box, drawing them out as necessary while playing. Then find these building tiles, which come in 4 different types. Stack them by type and set them nearby as well. The cards with these backs make up the Buildings, Gates, and Agenda decks. The Buildings and Agenda decks should be shuffled, and then all of these should be set within reach of the players. Now have each person collect a player reference, 25 cubes, a scoring marker, a worker, and headquarters building tile in their chosen color. In this video, we'll assume we have 3 players. Each player now puts their scoring marker on the 0 space of this prestige track that runs around the outside edge of the board. Then have each person add one of their cubes to the bottommost space of what are known as the 3 faction tracks. Now take a look at this area of the board for a moment. Here we see the city of Baldur's Gate, which is divided into 9 different colored districts. Each district has its own name, numbered plots of land, a headquarters space, as well as spaces for different types of fortifications with shapes matching the pieces that can be added there. Circles for watchtowers, hexagons for keeps, and ovals for gates. Each district also has an attack track in what is known as that district's special location. We're going to see how all of these elements are used in the game, but just being aware of them for now will help with the next steps of the setup. These are known as the double-sided headquarters cards. They have a basic and an advanced side. For your first game, shuffle and deal 1 randomly to each player to put in front of themselves with the basic side face up, returning any leftovers back to the box. Each player should examine the headquarters card they were dealt and notice that the name of a district is showing at its top. They'll now add their headquarters tile to the headquarters space of that district. Then deal each person 3 building cards from this deck and 3 agendas from this one. You can examine your own cards, but keep them a secret from the other players. Then deal 4 buildings face up into what is known as the building plans display. From the supply, each person now collects 6 gold, 1 favor, and 1 supply token. The numbered pieces with this back are known as plot tokens, which you'll now add to the included bag, giving them a good mix. You'll now draw 8 of them randomly from the bag, 1 at a time, and for each, find the related plot space of the board with the same color and number, adding one of these available plot markers there. Then place the drawn plot token onto the empty space of that district's attack track closest to the end with an arrow. So as I said, you'll be drawing 8 of these tokens from the bag, but if you ever draw the 4th token of a district, do not put an available plot marker in that space. Instead, continue drawing tokens until you get one that isn't the 4th token of any district, using it to place a piece instead, adding it to that district's attack track, and then returning all skipped over tokens back to the bag after. In this way, when you're done, you'll have 8 available plot markers assigned to the board, but no more than 3 in any one district. If you have a 3-player game, as we do, you'll draw 4 more plot tokens from the bag, 1 at a time, following the same steps, except this time, on each plot drawn, you'll add one of these prohibited markers, putting the token on the attack track as usual. When placing these markers, you'll also follow the rule that if you draw the 4th token for a district, you'll continue redrawing until you pull a plot token that isn't the 1/4 of a district, mixing any you skipped over back into the bag. If you have 2 players, instead draw a total of 8 plot tokens, meaning there will be 8 of these prohibited markers on the board. Any space with one of these markers is treated as if it does not exist. Nothing can ever be added to those spaces, and any lines going into them are considered to be a dead end. Okay, at the bottom of the board, we have what is known as the attack strength track. You'll now put this marker on its value 1 space. You also need to draw a random plot token from the bag to put face down on its final space. The important thing is that no one sees the face of the token. So you might be wondering, how do you ensure that you draw a token out without seeing its face? If you feel the edges of a token, you'll notice they have a flat and a rounded side. The rounded side is always the face of the token. So if you reach in and feel carefully, you can always draw a token out, ensuring that it's flipped to its face down side. See? Every time. So again, you'll place the secret token you've drawn face down onto the far right space of the attack track here. Finally, the youngest player at the table is picked to be the first player. Or you can just choose someone randomly, but otherwise, that's the setup. Now, I will mention there are some extra components and options for advanced play, and we'll discuss those briefly at the end of this video. In Dungeons & Dragons Builders of Baldur's Gate, players will be competing to construct the most buildings and fortifications, win favor with the various city factions, work towards secret agendas, participate in defending the city from attack, and a number of other activities, all that can help you earn prestige points. Earn the most prestige by the end of the game, and you win. The game is played over a series of turns, starting with the first player and then going clockwise around and around the table. And on your turn, you'll perform one action. You'll find a reminder of the 3 types of actions you can pick from here on your player aid. You may either build, send your worker, or collect income. Let's start by seeing how you send your worker, which is this piece in your color. To use this action, your worker must be in front of you on the table. If it's already on the board, then you cannot perform this action. Here, you move your worker from in front of you to any special location of any district. Remember, each district has one of these outlined in its matching color. We'll go here to Eastway Expeditions. This represents your worker going into that district to negotiate a particular trade deal for you. Each special location is made up of 2 rows representing 2 possible trade deals, and you now pick one of them to resolve. Each will show a cost in favor tokens you must spend from the ones you have in front of you, returning them to the supply, in order to fulfill the benefit showing on the right, in this case, the symbol for supply tokens. That said, the top trade deal of each special location is free. So even if you didn't have any favor tokens, you can still resolve the top deal. For example, we could spend no favor and gain a total of 2 supply tokens from the supply. I should mention, any favor, gold, or supply tokens you have are kept in front of you where everyone can see them. Also, these tokens come in different denominations, and you can always exchange what you have for equal values in different denominations as needed while playing. Going back to our example, after assigning your worker here, you could instead spend 1 favor token to gain 4 supplies. Just keep in mind, you can only resolve 1 deal at the location you send your worker to. Sending your worker to the High House of Wonders gains you a favor token from the supply for free, or you can spend 1 favor to resolve this symbol, which represents building a watchtower. To do this, collect one of these watchtowers from the supply and put it onto any empty watchtower space. There are several of these around the board, and they will show this symbol with a colored ring around their outside edge. After adding a watchtower to a space, you then put one of your colored cubes on its top as a reminder that this is yours. We'll see why you might want to add a watchtower to certain spaces later, but for now, just check to see if that space shows this symbol for prestige in its center. These will always have a smaller prestige symbol to the side, but ignore that for now. If there's a prestige value in the center, you gain that amount of prestige when you add a watchtower there. Anytime you earn prestige, advance your marker on this track that number of spaces. If you ever gain enough prestige to go all the way around the track past the 99th space, just record the points you've earned so far and continue around the track again. In addition to watchtowers, there are also keeps and gates, and all of these are known as fortifications. At this location, you can make a deal to build a keep, while here you can make a deal to build a gate. No matter which type of fortification you're building, after adding it to the board, you must check to see if anyone, including yourself, gains any benefits from where you placed it. And just so you know, I'll be adding and changing the pieces on the board throughout this video to create the examples I want to show you, like I'm about to do right now. Every space of the board will have one or more solid lines leading from them. After adding any fortification, like this keep, look at every space connected to it by a solid line. If that space is empty, or has an available plot marker, or one of these prohibited tokens in it, or any one of the 4 different types of building tiles with no cube in the area here, then nothing happens. But if a connected space has one of these building tiles with a colored cube in it, that player, the player whose cube this is, will gain the benefit showing in the corner here, even if that player is the same one who placed the fortification. We'll see how you add building tiles to the board later, but let's assume that these 2 were here, and then after, I added this keep here as the blue player. Yellow has a connected building, and the symbol on it represents gold, so they would gain 1 gold from the supply. As the blue player, I have one of my buildings connected to this as well, and this shows the symbol for a building card. That means I draw one from the top of the deck and add it to my hand. I do not get to collect one from the face-up display. So whether you're adding a watchtower, keep, or gate to the board, any buildings directly connected by a solid line to that fortification will earn a benefit. And remember, if a building tile doesn't have a cube in the space for it here, then when a fortification is built connected to it, it will not generate its benefit. Again, we'll learn how building tiles get added to the board later, but for now, let's go back to seeing the kind of deals you can strike when sending out your worker as an action. Here at the Minx and Boo statue, the free action allows you to move all the face-up cards in the building plans display into a shared discard pile. You then draw and reveal 4 new buildings as replacements. From these, you'll then pick any one of them to add to your hand. Now, why you might want one building over another will make more sense once we know more of the rules. But anytime there are fewer than 4 cards in the display, you immediately redraw so that 4 are showing here again. Also, if you would ever run out of cards in the deck when you would need to reveal more, just shuffle the discard pile into a new draw deck and refill it from there. Alternatively, at this location, you can spend 3 favor in order to build a gate instead. Unlike watchtowers and keeps, for this type of fortification, you first go through and choose any one gate card from this deck we put beside the board during the setup. There is 1 card for each gate space of the board, and they will show you which gate they represent within the image shown at their top. Each gate will also connect to spaces within 2 or 3 different districts, and those districts will be listed at the top here. Gates also have a one-time bonus you gain when they are built, and an income effect we'll learn about later. Let's assume we took this card. Then, no matter which one you took, you'll collect a gate piece from the supply and add it to the space showing here, putting one of our colored cubes on top of it. You then resolve the one-time bonus showing here. This will earn you either 1 or, as it shows in this case, 2 prestige for every undamaged building in the districts the gate connects to. So here we would earn 2 prestige for buildings in Sea Tower and Manorborn. That's these districts here. And remember, this bonus applies to undamaged buildings anywhere within those districts, not just in the spaces directly connected to the gate itself. We'll learn more about how buildings become damaged later, but these are any with a tile that don't have a colored cube in them. I should also mention the term building only refers to tiles with a cube. Fortifications like these here are not considered buildings. And for these bonuses, you don't count headquarters tiles either. So in this case, we'd earn 2 points for each of these 3 buildings, which is 6 prestige total. As always, anytime you earn prestige, advance your marker along this track. After placing a gate and resolving the related card, you add it face up to the right of any other cards you already have face up in front of you, which includes your headquarters card. This is known as your portfolio row, and we'll see other ways cards can enter your portfolio row later. But now it's time to go back and look at some more of the special locations you can send your worker to. Here at the Blushing Mermaid, you'll find the symbol for advancing on the Guild faction track, which is located here. For free, you can advance 1 space on it or spend a favor token to advance 2 spaces. We'll see how advancing on this track works in a moment, but notice there are 2 other types of factions. This symbol for the Flaming Fists and this for the Council faction. You can send your worker to this special location to advance on the Flaming Fist track, while going here advances you on the Council faction track. Anytime you advance on a track, you move your colored cube upward the required number of spaces, gaining the rewards showing on each space you enter. So moving 2 spaces up on this track would first give me 1 supply token, and then going here would allow me to build a Watchtower fortification, following all the rules we learned previously for adding fortifications. Before going on, I just want to bring your attention to the agenda cards. You were dealt 3 of these during setup, and we'll learn about them in more detail later, but they provide you with unique ways to score prestige at the end of the game. For example, this earns you 1 prestige for each of your watchtowers. However, you do not automatically gain these benefits. Instead, at the end of the game, as it says here, you'll get to pick and score 1 agenda for each of these tracks where you advanced your cube to at least this level. And we'll talk more about this later. At this point, we know enough of the rules to understand what all of the symbols on these tracks mean. But notice, some of these spaces will earn you a lot of prestige when you move your cubes to them. If you ever advance a cube to the top of a track, it will not advance further, and you ignore any effects that would cause it to. Alright, going back to the special locations, a worker here lets you pick any one of the faction tracks to advance 1 space on for free, or as we saw earlier, spending 2 favor lets you build a keep. Putting a worker at the Smiling Boar either lets you draw 2 cards from the top of the deck for free, which means taking them from here, not the face-up display, or you can instead spend 2 favor in order to claim any empty headquarters space. To do this, you just pick one of them and put one of your cubes onto it, and we'll see the value of having a cube on one of these spots a little later. This brings us to the last special location we have to go over, the Counting House. Here you can collect 4 gold for free, or spend 3 favor to build any 1 building from the face-up display for free. As we'll soon see, constructing buildings is an entire action you can take on your turn. So we'll learn how this trade deal works when we learn how that action works. I should mention, when spending your turn to send a worker, you may assign it to a location that already has another player's worker there. But no matter which row you choose, that player immediately gets their own worker back. This is helpful to them because remember, you cannot perform the send a worker action on your turn while your worker is already on the board. In other words, you can't use this action to move your worker from one special location to another. You can only move it from in front of yourself to the board. So by going to a location where another player's worker is located, you're helping them get their piece back. Okay, with that we've covered the send a worker action. So now let's learn the build action you might instead take on your turn. When you do, this allows you to construct a single building using one of the cards in your hand. Here's a couple of building card examples. These will show a gold cost in the area here, which you must be able to pay from what you have, returning that gold back to the supply. So if we wanted to build this factory, it would cost us 5 gold. After paying the cost, add the related card to the right of your portfolio row. Cards that end up here will provide you with additional benefits, as we'll see. For now, though, take note of the building symbol in this area. You'll now collect the building tile from the supply that matches it and pick any space of the board with one of these available plot markers. You'll set that marker aside for a moment and put the building tile in its place, adding one of your cubes to the space for it here. This will indicate that this is one of your buildings. Now check to see if there's a worker in the special location of the district where you added your building. If so, that player takes their worker back. So by building here, we helped yellow get their worker back. If our worker had been here instead, then adding this building to this district would allow us to collect our own worker back. Either way, now check the paths going from the space you added your building tile to. Anyone with a building tile, headquarters, or fortification in the connected spaces gains the benefits showing on them. So by putting this building here, the yellow player gains 2 gold. As the blue player, we'd gain 1 favor from this connected building, and pink would gain a card drawn from the building deck. A connected fortification of any type gains its player 1 prestige, which the small icon showing to the side of its space will remind you of. So here, blue gains 1 prestige and pink gains 1 prestige. Now I should mention, anytime more than 1 player is gaining benefits from connected buildings and fortifications, all of those players receive what they are owed, starting with the player currently taking their turn and then going clockwise around the table. So in our example, if blue is the current player, they get all of their benefits first, then yellow, and then pink. We'll see later how buildings can become damaged, but when they are, they will have no cube in their tile, and a connected damaged building does not gain any bonuses. Earlier, we saw that this special location allows you to add a cube to any unclaimed headquarters space. If a player constructs a building tile connected to a claimed headquarters, the player with their cube there, blue in this case, would gain 2 gold just like a regular headquarters tile provides. After connected spaces have earned their bonuses, you'll now check the building card in your portfolio row that just added a tile to the board to see if it has a when built effect. The factory we built doesn't have one. If we had just built this architect's trade hall instead, it says we'd now gain this one-time bonus, a single supply. All right, after gaining your one-time building card bonus, if any, you now take the plot bag and draw a random token from it. You then put the available plot marker you had set aside onto the space matching the color and value of the token you just drew. So in this case, it would go here. You then add the plot token itself to the next available space on that district's attack track. As we saw, these markers indicate the spaces where you can place new building tiles you want to construct. And each time you fill a space, a new one will become available. As more buildings are added to the board, more plot tokens will be added to attack tracks. And if the 4th token is added to a track covering this swords space, then you stop and resolve an attack. This represents outside invaders attempting to break into the city through that district. So now you'll need to find out if that area is properly fortified. To do this, first check the strength of the attack represented by the position of this token. So in this case, the attack strength is 1. Now we need to check the defense strength for the district being attacked. A keep there gives a defense strength of 2, and each watchtower gives a defense strength of 1. You'll notice that watchtowers show the districts they're a part of with the colored border around their space. So this watchtower adds its defense to attacks against this district and this district. Either way, for our example here, we have a total defense strength of 4 in this district. 2 for this keep and 1 each from these watchtowers. And you'll notice gates don't contribute anything to defense strength. If the defense strength of the district is equal to or higher than the attack strength, the attack against the city is properly defended. Any player who owned at least one of the fortifications in the defended district that contributed to the defense now gains prestige equal to the strength of the attack. Now remember, this only includes keeps and or watchtowers, not gates. In our case, blue, pink, and yellow contributed. The attack strength was 1, so they each gain 1 prestige. You don't gain prestige for each fortification that you contributed. You just gain the attack strength as your total reward for having any number of fortifications in that district. However, if there was a single player who contributed more to the defense strength compared to any other player at the table, that person earns the attack value as prestige a second time. So in this case, blue would earn another prestige. If you have a tie between players for the most defense contributed, then no player gets the extra prestige bonus. Either way, after the attack is resolved, you advance the attack marker 1 space to the right on the attack strength track. With that understood, now let's learn what happens when a defense's strength is less than the attack strength. Let's say it's later in the game and an attack strength of 2 is being resolved in this district. Here, the total defense is 1, which is not enough, and that means the attack succeeds. You'll now add one of these damage markers to the special location of that district. From now on, anyone sending a worker here must pay 1 extra favor in addition to the normal deal costs here. So even if a player wanted to resolve this free deal, it now costs 1 favor. And this one would now cost 2. Also, any building tiles in that district belonging to players who did not contribute to the district's failed defense have their cubes removed. So although the attack was successful, blue tried to defend the district, so their buildings aren't affected. The yellow player didn't contribute, so their cube is removed from this building, and pink loses their cube from this one. When a building tile has no cube, it's said to be damaged. No one owns these buildings any longer, and they no longer provide any benefits. Fortifications cannot become damaged, so they never lose their cubes. If someone used the trade deal that allows them to put a cube on an unclaimed headquarters, that cannot become damaged either, so yellow will keep their cube here. I should also mention, if one of your buildings is damaged, you can still keep and use the building card you had originally played to put that tile onto the board, and we'll see how these are used a little later. As usual, after any attack is resolved, whether it was successfully defended or not, you advance the attack marker 1 space. You'll find a reminder of this here on your player reference. Speaking of which, we're now ready to discuss the last type of action you'll find here, which you might instead take on your turn: collecting income. To perform this action, first collect the income showing in this top area of your headquarters card. We see here it's 6 gold and 1 supply. Now examine the bottom half of every card in your portfolio, including your headquarters. These show additional collect income benefits you can resolve if you pay any costs they have. Each one can be used once, and you can resolve them in any order. The benefit shows the cost you must pay at the top to receive the effect at the bottom. So here I could spend 3 supplies to gain 10 gold. After you use a card, rotate it 45 degrees to show that you can't use it again during this income action. Sometimes a card won't have a cost like we see here, so we can just rotate this and gain a single supply for free. Just remember, even though this was free, you can still only use it once during this action. Also notice, a few buildings don't have any income benefits at all. You might have gates in your portfolio, and these all have the same type of income benefit. You can spend 1 supply to take 1 free action from a location within the districts your gate connects to. For example, if I had this gate, it connects both of these districts. So I could use its card to spend a supply and resolve either this free deal or this one. Keep in mind, if a location is damaged, you can still pick to resolve its free action using your gate's card, but now it costs you 1 favor in addition to the 1 supply. We should look at your headquarters card specifically, as this shows 3 possible benefits, and when paying its supply cost, you must pick a single one to resolve. The first option lets you take any 1 building card from the display and add it to your hand. So you'd pick any of the 4 face-up options and then immediately replace it with a new one from the deck. Just keep in mind, when using this benefit, you must take a face-up card you can't draw directly from the deck. That said, when resolving the income effect of your headquarters, you might instead pick this benefit, which allows you to take your worker back from the board. Or you might resolve this benefit and gain 1 favor. I should also mention, certain income benefits might add other cards to your portfolio during the income action you're resolving. If so, you can use them during that income action as well. Either way, once you've resolved as many income benefits as you can or wish to, straighten all the cards as a reminder that they're now available for use during the next income action you perform. With that, we've covered the 3 actions you have to choose from during your turn. And after performing exactly one of them, either building, or sending a worker, or collecting income, the next player in clockwise order takes their turn. And turns will continue like this around and around the table until the last plot token is drawn from the bag. The person who drew it will finish their turn, and then every player, including that player, will get 1 more final turn. During those final turns, since there will be no more tokens in the bag, any person performing a build action will skip the steps where they would normally draw a new token, because there won't be a new token to draw. Once all the players have taken their final turns, you reveal the plot token that was put face down on this space during the setup. At this time, the attack marker will also have advanced to this space, and you now resolve a Strength 5 attack at the district matching the revealed plot token. This attack is resolved as usual with players scoring prestige or buildings becoming damaged. And then it's time for final scoring. You'll find the steps for this summarized on the back of your player reference, so let's go through these together. First, count the number of faction tracks where you managed to advance a cube past this line of text here. In this case, as the blue player, I did that twice. You now choose that number of agenda cards from your hand to reveal and score. For example, if I chose this one, I would now earn 1 prestige for each watchtower I own. Here, I would gain an amount of prestige equal to the number of different types of building tiles I own, which does not include your headquarters tile or any fortifications. So if I owned 3 different types, I'd earn 6 points. Remember, to own a tile, you must have one of your cubes in it. Damaged buildings aren't owned by anyone. There are a variety of different ways to score from agenda cards, and how they work is explained on them. Next, each player looks for their largest group of connected buildings and fortifications, not including headquarters. Your buildings and fortifications are part of a connected group as long as each one is connected to at least one other within that group by a solid line. And it's okay if that group branches off in various directions. This is Blue's largest group, and it's made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces. You earn 2 prestige for each piece within your largest group. So in this case, Blue earns a total of 14 prestige. You'll find a reminder of this printed here on the board. Also here is the next way you earn points at the end of the game. First, count how many different districts have buildings with your cubes. In this case, Blue has buildings in 1, 2, 3, 4 different districts. You do not include districts with only your fortifications or headquarters. Looking at this chart, we see that being in 4 different districts earns Blue 6 prestige. Finally, each player totals the amount of gold, favors, supply, and building cards in their hand, dividing that total by 3 and rounding down, earning that amount of prestige. Here, the blue player has 22 of these items, so they'd earn 7 more prestige. Now the player with the most prestige wins. In the case of a tie, the tied player with the most building cards wins. If there's still a tie, the tied player with the most fortifications wins. If there's still a tie, the tied player who earned the most points from their scored agendas wins. And if there's still a tie, the tied players combine the might of their houses and declare a shared victory. After all, they've earned it. I'll also mention there's a summary of the rules on the back of the rulebook if you need reminders while playing, and optional advanced setup steps you can follow that use the other side of the headquarters cards, giving each player a unique benefit there, which might make use of other components. Also, each player is now dealt 5 building and agenda cards, which they examine privately, picking 3 of each to keep, returning the extras to the bottom of the related decks. The full details of these steps I'll leave for you to discover on your own, or you can pause the video here and read it for yourself. But otherwise, that's everything you need to know to play Dungeons & Dragons Builders of Baldur's Gate. If you have any questions about anything you saw here, feel free to put them in the comments below and I'll gladly answer them as soon as I get a chance. You'll also find forums for discussion, pictures, other videos, and lots more over on the games page at Board Game Geek, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like, subscribing, and clicking that little bell icon so you get notification anytime we post a new video. And if you'd like to support us directly, you can join our Patreon team, which I'll have linked below. But until next time, thanks for watching.